Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! As the last rays of autumn sunlight stretched through the office, fingers paused, poised above the keyboard, as if hesitant to disrupt the serene scene outside. A dating application's interface flickered on the screen, an alluring yet intrusive reminder of a hidden existence. With a weary breath, the password reset process began, exposing a carefully guarded secret. Underneath the veil of daylight normalcy, a dual life unfurled. A life where professional attire and an organized desk space constituted the everyday routine of Isaias Martinez. Yet, when the sunset descended upon his metropolitan abode, Isaias metamorphosed into Audrey, exuding poise and an authentic self that sizzled with confidence. Audrey existed within the realms of this app, adorning dresses that gracefully hugged curves meticulously crafted through padding and specialized undergarments. The auburn hair, naturally Isaias's, though grown longer on top, was styled into soft waves with the help of extensions that matched perfectly. In those pictures, Audrey smiled with a confidence Isaias rarely felt in daily interactions. The mouse cursor hovered over the Submit button for a moment too long, doubt creeping in. But it was late, and the alternative was creating an entirely new profile after forgetting the password. One click, and the deed was done. The system processed the request, sending a verification link to the corporate email account. What Isaias didn't realize was that the dating app's newest update included an enhanced security feature that pulled publicly available information, including profile photos from linked email accounts. In this case, it retrieved Isaias's company directory headshot. The algorithm worked silently in the background, making connections no human had yet pieced together. 3 cubicles away, Sophia Chen was also online. A marketing specialist at Meridian, she scrolled through potential matches on the same dating app during her lunch break. Her dark hair was pulled back in a professional bun, and she wore a cream-colored blouse with charcoal slacks. She had been at the company for only 6 months, but had quickly become known for her analytical mind and compassionate nature. The app chimed with a notification, a new suggested match. Sophia picked up her phone, eyebrows rising slightly as she saw the profile. A woman named Audrey, in a stunning sapphire evening gown that complemented her auburn hair perfectly. Something about her seemed familiar, though Sophia couldn't immediately place it. Then she noticed the unusual information at the bottom of the profile. Works at Meridian Technologies, Systems Department. Odd, Sophia thought. She knew most of the systems team. The app's explanation for the match appeared in small text. Connected through work network and email verification. She tapped on the additional information section, curious about this mystery woman from her company whom she hadn't met. The screen loaded, and there it was, the technical glitch made manifest. Side by side, the app displayed Audrey's dating profile photo and Isaias's company directory headshot with a message. Identity verified through corporate email. imartinez@meridiantech.com. Sophia blinked twice, looking back and forth between the 2 images. The distinctive auburn hair, the same slight asymmetry in the smile, the identical shape of the eyes. The realization dawned slowly, followed by understanding rather than judgment. She put her phone down, unsure of what to do with this inadvertent discovery. Privacy matters weighed against the knowledge that Isaias might not realize his carefully separated worlds had collided in the app's database. 2 days passed in which Sophia observed Isaias from a distance. He wore a navy button-down and khaki slacks, his movements suggesting someone carrying a weight invisible to others. She noticed the way he sometimes touched his auburn hair absently, as if checking it was still in place. The way his eyes lingered on the women in the office, studying not with desire, but with attention to details. How they walked in heels, how they carried themselves. The decision came during Wednesday's team meeting. The conference room buzzed with pre-meeting chatter, colleagues discussing weekend plans and project deadlines. Isaiah sat quietly at the corner of the table, reviewing notes on his tablet. After the meeting ended, Sophia approached him purposefully. "Isaiah, do you have a minute? There's something about the Henderson project I wanted to discuss." His eyes showed momentary confusion. They weren't on the same project, but professionalism won out. "Of course." They walked to the small coffee nook tucked away in a quiet corner of the office. No one else was there. "Actually," Sophia began, her voice gentle but direct, "it's not about Henderson. There's something else I thought you should know." She took out her phone and pulled up the dating app. "I was on this app the other day, and there was a technical issue I noticed." She handed him the phone, open to the screen showing the two images side by side, Audrey and Isaiah linked by the corporate email. The color drained from his face. His hand trembled slightly as he took the phone, staring at the evidence of his worlds colliding. "I think the app's new security feature pulled your company photo when you used your work email," Sophia explained gently. "I wanted you to know because I wasn't sure if you realized what had happened." Isaiah remained silent, his eyes fixed on the screen, the professional mask cracking. "I just thought, if it were me, I'd want someone to tell me. That's all." She paused, then added, "Your secret is safe with me, Isaiah." His eyes finally lifted from the screen, searching her face for judgment and finding none. "Thank you," he whispered, voice barely audible. Then, with slightly more strength, "Not many people would have handled it this way. We all have parts of ourselves we're figuring out how to share with the world." She smiled reassuringly. "Take all the time you need." That brief interaction in the coffee nook became the catalyst for something Isaiah had buried for years. The truth that being Audrey wasn't just about cross-dressing, but about becoming whole. The conversation continued 2 evenings later at a quiet cafe several blocks from the office. Isaiah arrived wearing dark jeans and a green sweater, his auburn hair still in its workplace style. "I've been living a double life for so long," he explained, fingers wrapped around a ceramic mug of tea. "Audrey started as an experiment, a way to express something I didn't fully understand." Sophia listened intently, asking questions only when Isaiah paused for too long. "When did you first realize?" His eyes grew distant, remembering. "I was 22. I found myself lingering in dress shops, telling myself I was looking for gifts, but I was imagining how the fabrics would feel, how the dresses would move." He took a sip of tea. "The first time I tried on a dress at home, a simple black one I'd ordered online, I cried, not from shame, but from recognition." "And now?" Sophia asked gently. "Now I feel like I'm holding my breath all day, only to exhale when I become Audrey." He looked down at his hands. "I've been seeing a therapist privately for about 6 months. We've been discussing gender identity, transition options, but I've been too scared to make any real changes." "What are you afraid of?" "Everything." A humorless laugh escaped him. "My job, my family, my friends, starting over at 34. "You wouldn't be starting over," Sophia observed. "You'd be continuing as your authentic self." The conversation lasted until the cafe closed, spanning topics from hormone therapy to workplace discrimination policies. Throughout, Sophia neither pushed nor pulled. She simply witnessed, offering the profound gift of being seen. 2 weeks later, Isaiah sat in Dr. Eleanor Brennan's office, hands clasped tightly in his lap. He wore a crisp white shirt and black slacks, but a small detail had changed. His fingernails bore clear polish, a tiny step toward authenticity. "I want to start the transition process," he said clearly, the words both terrifying and liberating. "Not just socially, but medically." Dr. Brennan, a gender therapist with 20 years of experience, nodded encouragingly. Her salt and pepper hair was cut in a practical bob, and she wore a professional purple dress with a gray cardigan. "What helped you reach this decision?" "Someone at work discovered my other identity, but instead of it being a disaster, it became a conversation." He smiled faintly. "She asked me questions I'd been avoiding asking myself." The next months unfolded in a series of carefully planned steps. Isaiah began hormone replacement therapy, documenting the subtle changes in a private journal. His skin softened. Fat redistributed. The emotional landscape shifted in ways both challenging and affirming. During this time, Isaiah continued working at Meridian, his outward appearance changing so gradually that many colleagues didn't notice. His auburn hair grew longer, tucked behind his ears in what could still pass for a masculine style. His clothing remained professional, but began incorporating more ambiguous elements. Sweaters with a more relaxed cut, slacks with a slightly higher waist. Sophia became both friend and ally, a steady presence during moments of doubt. Their lunch conversations ranged from the philosophical to the practical, like the day Isaiah confessed his anxiety about using public restrooms. "I feel caught between worlds," he admitted, over soup and sandwiches at the corner deli they frequented. "Not male enough for one, not female enough for the other." "The in-between spaces are the hardest," Sophia acknowledged. "But they're also where growth happens." 4 months into hormone therapy, Isaiah made an appointment with Human Resources. Miranda Jeffries, the HR director, welcomed him into her office with professional warmth. Her gray suit matched the sleek furniture, creating an atmosphere of corporate competence. "What can I help you with today?" she asked after they were seated. Isaiah took a deep breath. "I'm transgender, and I've begun the medical transition process. I wanted to discuss how we can handle this professionally in the workplace." Miranda's expression remained neutral, but her tone softened. "Thank you for trusting me with this. We actually have protocols in place for supporting employees through transition." The conversation that followed covered practical matters, a timeline for workplace transition, updates to email addresses and directories, bathroom access policies, and how to inform team members. "And what name should we use going forward?" Miranda asked, pen poised over her notepad. "Audrey," came the reply, voice growing stronger with each syllable. "Audrey Martinez." The following week brought another significant step. Audrey, no longer thinking of herself as Isaiah, sat in the salon chair, watching in the mirror as the stylist worked with her, now shoulder-length auburn hair. "Nothing dramatic," she'd instructed. "Just shape it to frame my face better." The stylist, a woman with vibrant blue tips in her own dark hair, nodded understandingly. "Feminine but professional coming right up." As auburn strands fell to the floor, Audrey felt pieces of her old life falling away, too. The person emerging in the mirror looked increasingly familiar, not as a disguise or alternate identity, but as herself. The workplace transition was scheduled for a Monday. The previous Friday, Appropriate emails had been sent to department heads and team members, explaining that Isaias would be returning to work as Audrey with a brief, dignified request for respect during this transition. The weekend stretched before her, 48 hours of anticipation and concern. Sophia came over on Sunday afternoon, bringing takeout Chinese food and moral support. "Have you decided what you are wearing tomorrow?" she asked, opening cartons on Audrey's kitchen counter. "About 100 times," Audrey replied with a nervous laugh. She wore jeans and a simple green blouse, her auburn hair loose around her shoulders. "I want to look professional, but not like I'm trying too hard." They moved to the living room, where several outfits lay spread across the couch. "The gray pencil skirt with the ivory silk blouse," Sophia suggested, pointing with her chopsticks. "Classic feminine, but not overtly so. And it says, 'I'm the same competent professional you've always known.'" Audrey nodded, relieved to have the decision made. "What about makeup?" "Minimal. Foundation, light blush, neutral eyeshadow, mascara, tinted lip balm. You want to look polished, not like you're heading to a nightclub." The conversation shifted to anticipated reactions, potential challenges, practical strategies for navigating the day. "Remember," Sophia said as she was leaving, "you've been doing the real work for months. Tomorrow is just making the outside match what's already true." Monday morning arrived with autumn sunshine streaming through Audrey's bedroom windows. She stood before the mirror in her underwear, studying her changing body. The softening jawline, the subtle curves emerging at hip and breast. Not dramatic transformations yet, but promises of alignment to come. She applied makeup with careful precision, following the natural tutorials she'd practiced dozens of times. Foundation to even her skin tone, concealer under her eyes, a touch of neutral brown eyeshadow, mascara to accentuate her lashes, and a rose-tinted balm on her lips. Simple, professional, authentic. The gray pencil skirt slid over her hips, followed by the ivory silk blouse that draped elegantly across her chest. Low-heeled black pumps completed the ensemble, practical enough for a full day at the office, feminine enough to affirm her identity. Her auburn hair, now styled in soft layers that framed her face, caught the light as she turned her head. A small silver pendant hung at her throat, a gift from Sophia, a tiny feather symbolizing freedom. The drive to work felt surreal, as if she were simultaneously heading toward a beginning and an end. The parking garage was already half full when she arrived. She checked her reflection one last time in the rearview mirror, applied another coat of lip balm, and whispered to herself, "You've got this." The security guard, an older man named Frank, who had worked there for decades, did a double take at her approach, but recovered quickly.
"New ID badge?"
he asked, noting the mismatch between her appearance and the photo on her existing badge. "Being processed," she replied, with a small smile.
"Human Resources is expecting me."
He waved her through with professional courtesy, and Audrey felt the first hurdle cleared. Miranda from HR met her in the lobby, welcoming her with a handshake and professional warmth. "Your new badge is ready, and your email has been updated in the system. How are you feeling?" "Nervous," Audrey admitted, "but ready. I'll walk you to your department." They took the elevator to the 4th floor, the familiar path now feeling entirely new. The systems department was already buzzing with Monday morning activity. Conversations paused briefly as they entered, eyes turning toward them with varying degrees of curiosity and recognition. Miranda addressed the room with calm authority. "Good morning, everyone. As you were informed by email, your colleague has returned to work as Audrey Martinez. I trust you'll all extend the same professional courtesy and respect you've always shown one another." A moment of silence followed, broken by Sophia's voice from across the room. "Morning, Audrey. There's fresh coffee in the break room." The simple normality of the greeting broke the tension. Other colleagues followed suit, some with awkward nods, others with genuine smiles. Not universal acceptance, perhaps, but a beginning. Audrey's desk remained unchanged. The same family photo, though she made a mental note to update it soon. The same organized stacks of files, the same computer with a password she'd need to change to reflect her new identity. The morning proceeded with a strange mix of ordinary and extraordinary moments. Martin from accounting stopped by with a question about expense reports, hesitating only briefly before addressing her correctly. "Audrey, do you have those third-quarter projections?" The women's restroom presented its own challenge. The first time she pushed open the door, marked with the familiar silhouette, her heart raced. But inside, two colleagues barely glanced up from washing their hands, one offering a casual, "Hey," before returning to their conversation. Lunch brought a different kind of interaction. Audrey was unpacking her salad in the break room when Robert Phillips from sales entered. He'd been with the company for 15 years and was known for his conservative views.
"So,"
he said, standing too close, voice pitched low.
"Overnight change, huh?"
Audrey straightened, meeting his gaze directly. "Nothing about this was overnight, Robert." He filled his coffee cup, shaking his head slightly. "Just saying, it's a lot for people to adjust to. You looked fine before." "I appreciate that this might be unfamiliar territory," she replied, keeping her voice steady. "But this isn't about how I look to others. It's about living authentically." Robert opened his mouth to respond, but Miranda appeared in the doorway, her timing impeccable. "Robert, just the person I was looking for. Can I speak with you about the Donaldson account?" As they left, Miranda caught Audrey's eye with a subtle nod. The message clear. The company had her back. Sophia joined her at the table a few minutes later. "First confrontation survived?" "Barely a confrontation," Audrey shrugged, spearing a cherry tomato. "More like uncomfortable curiosity. It could have been worse." "How does it feel, being here as yourself?" Audrey considered the question, looking around the familiar break room with new eyes. "Like I've been holding my breath underwater for years and finally came up for air." The afternoon brought a department meeting, the first time Audrey would address multiple colleagues at once. She had prepared thoroughly for her presentation on the new security protocols, but standing at the front of the conference room, aware of every eye on her, she momentarily faltered. Her gaze met Sophia's across the table. A small, encouraging nod. Audrey took a deep breath and began speaking. Her voice, altered slightly by months of vocal training and hormone therapy, carried clearly through the room. As she moved through her presentation, confidence building with each slide, she noticed a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Colleagues were focusing on her content rather than her appearance, engaging with her ideas rather than her identity. By the end of that first day, exhaustion settled deep in her bones. Not just physical, but emotional, the weight of maintaining composure through countless interactions. She had received 27 emails, 3 awkward hallway conversations, 1 uncomfortable bathroom encounter, and 1 surprisingly sweet, handwritten note left anonymously on her desk. "Courage is contagious. Thank you for yours." The next week brought its own challenges. Clients who knew her as Isaias needed to be informed. Some adapted quickly. Others stumbled over pronouns and names. The regular Tuesday conference call with the Tokyo office prompted particular anxiety. Would her international colleagues be understanding? To her relief, the Japanese team leader simply said, "Thank you for informing us of your name change, Martinez-san. Now, about the network security updates." 2 months into her workplace transition, Audrey faced another significant milestone, the annual company holiday party. She stood in her apartment, contemplating her reflection in the full-length mirror. The deep green cocktail dress complemented her auburn hair, which now reached past her shoulders. Subtle makeup enhanced her features, and low heels added height without sacrificing comfort. Sophia arrived to accompany her, wearing a black dress with silver accents. "You look amazing," she declared upon seeing Audrey. "Elegant, but approachable." "I'm still nervous," Audrey admitted. "It's one thing to be professional Audrey at work, another to be social Audrey at a party." "Just remember, you've been social Audrey on your dating profile for years. This isn't new territory, just a new context." The hotel ballroom was decorated with tasteful holiday elegance. White lights, silver and blue accents, a large tree in the corner. Audrey paused at the entrance, steeling herself for the evening ahead. Colleagues greeted her with varying degrees of warmth. Department head William Chen approached immediately, champagne flute in hand.
"Audrey, glad you could make it. That security patch you implemented last week saved us from that ransomware attempt. Excellent work."
She relaxed slightly, grateful for the professional acknowledgement. Throughout the evening, conversations naturally split between work discussions and personal catching up. Some colleagues asked thoughtful questions about her transition. Others avoided the topic entirely. A few kept their distance, discomfort evident in their body language. The most touching moment came when elderly Gerald from maintenance approached, his wife Irene on his arm. At 72, Gerald was the company's longest-serving employee, known for his practical wisdom and occasional stubbornness.
"My granddaughter explained it all to me,"
he said without preamble.
"Said it's like being born in the wrong house. You always knew which house was really yours, but everyone kept insisting you live in the wrong one."
He nodded, as if affirming something to himself.
"Makes sense to me. Life's too short to live in the wrong house."
His simple acceptance, coming from an unexpected source, brought tears to Audrey's eyes. As winter turned to spring, Audrey's transition continued both physically and socially. The hormones reshaped her body and face in subtle but significant ways. Voice training altered her speech patterns. Legal documents were updated one by one: driver's license, social security, bank accounts. At work, her identity as Audrey solidified. New employees knew her only as Audrey, with no knowledge of Isaias. The dating profile that had inadvertently catalyzed her coming out remained active, though she hadn't yet felt ready to actually date. "What about that guy who messaged you last week?" Sophia asked over lunch in early April. "He seemed nice." "He did," Audrey agreed, picking at her pasta. She wore a lavender blouse with gray slacks, her auburn hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. "But I'm not sure I'm ready. The whole disclosure conversation is daunting." "You don't have to tell everyone everything right away," Sophia pointed out. "Dating is about getting to know someone gradually." "That's part of what worries me. What if I start to like someone, and then when I tell them they reject me or worse?" "That could happen," Sophia acknowledged. "But it could also not happen. You won't know until you try." After much deliberation, Audrey agreed to a coffee date with Michael, an architectural engineer who had messaged her through the dating app. They arranged to meet at a cafe downtown on Saturday afternoon. The day arrived with spring sunshine and Audrey's renewed anxiety. She chose a casual but feminine outfit, jeans, a soft, cream-colored sweater, and ankle boots with a slight heel. Her auburn hair fell in loose waves around her shoulders, and her makeup emphasized her eyes while remaining natural. Michael was already at the cafe when she arrived, standing to greet her with a warm smile. He was tall, with kind brown eyes and a neatly trimmed beard, dressed in a blue button-down and dark jeans. "Audrey, it's great to meet you in person!" The conversation flowed more easily than she had anticipated. They discovered shared interests in independent films and hiking, debated the merits of various coffee brewing methods, and compared stories of workplace mishaps. An hour passed quickly, and Audrey found herself genuinely enjoying his company. But as the conversation deepened, the unspoken truth hovered between them. When Michael suggested they meet again for dinner the following weekend, she made a decision. "I'd like that," she said, meeting his eyes directly. "But there's something I should tell you first." She took a deep breath and spoke the words she had rehearsed mentally countless times. "I'm transgender. I transitioned about a year ago." Michael's expression shifted. Surprise, processing, consideration. The silence stretched for what felt like eternity.
"Thank you for telling me,"
he finally said.
"That took courage."
"Does it change things? About dinner?" He considered her question seriously.
"I appreciate your honesty. I'd still like to have dinner, if you're comfortable with that. I have questions, but I don't want to put you on the spot here."
Relief washed through her. Not a fairy tale reaction, perhaps, but a human one. Thoughtful, respectful, open to continuing. As spring turned to summer, Audrey's life established new patterns. She dated Michael casually for several weeks before they mutually decided they worked better as friends. Her professional reputation at Meridian continued to grow, resulting in a promotion to senior systems analyst. The anniversary of her workplace transition approached, prompting reflection. She sat with Sophia on the balcony of her apartment one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. A gentle breeze stirred her auburn hair, now long enough to reach the middle of her back. "Did you ever imagine we'd be here a year ago?" Sophia asked, sipping from a glass of white wine. Audrey wore a casual summer dress in a soft blue pattern, comfortable in both her clothes and her skin. "Never. I thought my world would end if anyone discovered my secret." She smiled ruefully. "Instead, my life began." "Any regrets?" Audrey considered the question seriously. "About transitioning? Not one. About waiting so long to be honest with myself and others? Maybe. But I needed that time to find my courage. And now? Now I'm just living, not as Isaias pretending to be Audrey on weekends, not as Audrey hiding her past, just as myself, completely." A notification chimed on her phone. A message from the dating app. She had been speaking with a woman named Christina for several weeks, their conversations growing increasingly engaging. "She wants to meet for dinner tomorrow," Audrey said, looking up from the screen. "And? Will you go?" "I think so. She already knows about my transition. I told her in our second conversation. She said she admired my journey." "Look at you," Sophia said with a smile. "Dating, promoted at work, planning that public speaking engagement for the professional development conference." She raised her glass. "To authenticity. To unexpected catalysts," Audrey countered, clinking her glass against Sophia's. and the friends who show us who we truly are. The next morning, Audrey prepared for a meeting with new clients. She stood before her closet, selecting a tailored navy dress that projected both competence and confidence. Her makeup routine had become second nature. Foundation, subtle contouring, mascara, a touch of blush, and rose-colored lipstick. As she fastened a delicate gold necklace around her throat, her eyes caught the reflection of a small framed photo on her dresser. It showed Isaias from 3 years earlier, smiling stiffly at a company function, eyes holding a sadness he couldn't name then. "Thank you," she whispered to the image, "for holding on until I could find my way to where you always knew we belonged." She turned away from the mirror, auburn hair swinging with the movement, and stepped into the sunlight streaming through her bedroom window. Outside, the city hummed with activity, a world of possibilities waiting. Audrey Martinez picked up her briefcase, checked that she had everything she needed for the day ahead, and walked confidently toward her future. No longer divided, no longer hiding, simply and completely herself.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!